What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of All Things Driving. If you're new to the channel, I am your host as always, Rashid White. All right, let's get into it. You guys see the graphics, you see the actual title of today's show. Let the lawsuits begin, and who is ultimately responsible, who actually has to pay. Yeah, because the truck driver, he really did something stupid, and there's a whole lot of things going out there saying that, oh, he did this intentionally. Really kind of hard to prove right there, which is why the DA actually went with a simple manslaughter charge, that'll do it right there. It's really kind of hard to prove that this truck driver actually really intentionally really did this over here, man. So so we have this guy over here. He comes into the country illegally, right? And the state of California gives him a driver's license. Now, California may actually have its separate rules now it's a sanctuary state, and you gotta blame the people of California, right? And for allowing this, for allowing them to actually spend all the taxpayer dollars and seeing their cost of living going up, and just really tolerating all this for the most part, man. So I'm gonna blame on most of the people, the residents of California, for this stuff like this, man. But I'm just really more laughing and disgust over here, man. So let's look into the details of this. We also gonna look at if this accident could have been prevented from the actual minivan driver itself, right here. We see, for the most part, we see people try to speed up when trucks tries to make turns, or you see a truck backing up out of let's say a driveway or something like that. They don't want to wait. I mean, there's a lot of factors at play over here. We're not going to blame just strictly the truck driver if we can actually see it that way. I look at it as how can we prevent accidents, right? This is the main key. Let's get into the actual news articles, news stories of this and the follow-ups and what's actually going to be happening, because they're saying he's just going to get deported. And I mean, he actually has to face repercussions, some prison time for this, and then actually get deported, man. So let's get into the actual story. All right, so you guys actually see it right over here, man. The semi truck driver faces 3 counts of vehicular homicide after crashes on Florida Turnpike in Fort Pierce. So we're gonna go by the standards too on what the California Department of Motor Vehicles believe is sufficient amount of training to operate one of these big rigs. Now, I have a CDL license too. I have a Class A license. I used to drive tractor trailers cross country, and I went to school for 3 months. I moved up to Liverpool. It's a suburb of Syracuse, 10 miles north, right, of Syracuse. And I did 8 hours a day of training. I was trained by former over-the-road truck drivers who retired, who had experience in the field. It was 25 years doing it. And I didn't make a lot of the mistakes that I actually see. And it's not just like an immigrant thing over here, man. People thinking, oh, it was just the immigrants. No, I see a lot of truck drivers actually making critical mistakes out there. No matter whether you're black, white, Spanish, Indian, Mexican, and I don't know if it's the actual electronic logs that these guys have to go by. From what I understand, I was using paperless log, but paper log, a log book, pretty much. And a lot of times we would exceed the hours. The hours that we could drive a day was 10 hours, and so then they have these electronic logs. Now, if you go over 10 hours, it starts fining you. So you'll have drivers, right, driving too closely, pretty much trying to speed and get to where they actually have to go, to make the time, so they don't actually get fined or anything like that. So that could have been a factor right here, right? And you look at the actual DMV. This is the commercial driver's license. This is from the California Department of Motor Vehicles, and it says the requirements to actually becoming a truck driver: 15 hours of training, right? 15 hours of behind the wheel. That's not enough, man. I mean, it's not enough. I mean, it's crazy, man. Because that's the thing. You see all these rinky-dink driving schools doing the bare minimum or not giving them the proper training. Like they'll have like a 25 or 30 foot like trailer. No, give them what they really need to, what they're going to be operating out there. A 53-foot trailer, right? So the bigger the truck, the longer the stopping distance, that it actually takes. And they should be trained on, I was trained on a 53-foot trailer. I wasn't trained on a pup, like a small trailer, like a tractor trailer, like a 30-foot, 35-foot trailer. I was trained on a 53, a 48, and a 53-foot trailer, at the school that I went to. So that's really where a lot of this stuff stems from, is the training, the amount of hours that these guys require. It says over here, yeah, the applicant must complete a minimum of 15 hours of behind-the-wheel training and submit a California commercial driver's behind-the-wheel training certificate. So we don't know whether this driver, we don't know if, like, let's say this legislator of California made it to where these guys can actually get licenses, and that's the thing. But there's still a federal law on in terms of like coming to the country illegally. Can't do that. So I don't know how that works. They're gonna have to hash that out in court. And this is probably one of the problems. So let's get into the actual story over here. Wait, let's get into the actual video of this. So let me see. I'm not going to play the whole thing because of YouTube, man. They are tyrannical when it comes to this type of stuff. And I don't blame them. All right, so you see the van coming right here. I think he should be able to stop. Now, we don't know what's happening with the van. He could be distracted. He could have had a medical episode behind the wheel. He could have been speeding. From when they said, I think they said the ground was actually wet. So it doesn't look like his daytime running lights is on. We don't know the medical history of this driver right here. Has he had his vision check recently? He got his CDL in 2018, 2019. Was he wearing his glasses or contacts? There's so many factors when it actually comes to this stuff over here. And I'm gonna stop it right before the actual impact. Doesn't seem like this car even brakes, man, at all. He doesn't even really attempt to stop. Maybe he was like in shock that you'll see a tractor trailer make a U-turn like this, right? Because it's out of the norm. For the most part, like if you're the driver of this van, you don't encounter stuff like this. So you got to be mentally prepared when you're driving. Like, you always actually have to have a plan, right? A plan of, like if somebody runs out in the street, I have myself an out. I'm going to hit the brakes and then try to swerve as much as possible to actually avoid hitting that person. I want to know who's beside me, how fast they're actually coming. And the ground was actually wet over here. So it doesn't look like this car really has his headlights on or DRLs on. So that could have played a factor. It's just a misjudgment. I don't know if this guy really kind of did it on purpose. But, nevertheless, you're a professional driver, and they're going to hold you to a higher standards. Now, if it was like a regular, person in a four-wheeler that made a turn like this and caused an accident, no charges, right? But since you're a professional and you're supposed to be getting like the, like you have more, let's say, a higher standard of training, then yeah, they're going to really kind of like, throw you in prison for this type of stuff, man. But from what I understand, he's not going to even get deported. Let's see what the news stories actually says over here, man.
The European delegation, including leaders from the UK, France, Germany, Italy, and Finland, as well as representatives from...
Refresh this, yeah.
They're in Kyiv today to bid for...
Oh, this is it right here. I'm sorry.
We've been looking into a recent crash on the turnpike in St. Lucie County that killed 3 people and asking questions about the semi-truck driver involved, who's now under arrest. Our Angie Toussaint is in the newsroom with more.
We've been digging into the report and making calls to get you answers about the driver, the company he worked for, and how he was able to obtain a commercial driver's license as an undocumented person, as that driver now faces vehicular homicide charges. Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles say 28-year-old Harjinder Singh acted recklessly and without regard when making an illegal turn, which led to a crash that killed 3 people in St. Lucie County this past Monday. A 37-year-old woman from Pompano Beach and a 54-year-old man from Miami died at the scene of the crash. A 30-year-old man from Florida City later died from his injuries. We've been asking questions about the driver and working to find more information on his background. We now know that Singh, who was originally from India, entered the U.S. illegally after crossing through the Mexico border in 2018 and obtained a commercial driver's license from California. I emailed California's Department of Motor Vehicles to get details about Singh's qualifications. They have not yet responded to my questions.
Of course they're not going to.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says 5,936 people were killed in traffic crashes involving large trucks in 2022, 5,821 in 2021. We spoke with a local truck driver who is not affiliated with Singh. He said commercial drivers have a greater responsibility on the roads.
When you hold a commercial license, you're considered a professional driver, and you should know better.
FHSMV Executive Director Dave Kerner said the actions taken by the defendant while operating a commercial tractor trailer are both shocking and criminal. Singh now faces 3 counts of vehicular homicide. Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles say he will likely be deported at the conclusion of the investigation.
Yeah, see, and that's not enough right there, man. That's really him getting off scot-easy. Deporting, like, come on. Who's to say when the next administration actually, gets in there, right? What they'll sneak in again. Now, we know Trump has really been hard in terms of the border crossings, but let's say Trump doesn't get back in the next 3.5 years now. I mean, who's to say that he won't do this again and go to California or New York or another sanctuary city and do this again, man? So the portness is not enough right there, man. Yeah, you hear this that the truck crashes actually really had increased over the years. So there's a lot of factors, as I mentioned. The poor training, I see it all the time, man. It doesn't have to do with a migrant thing or a legal thing. It's just drivers are driving these trucks like cars. It's insane. And I'm gonna start doing more videos in terms of like educating these drivers on how to drive safely and never have accidents, man. Because the stuff I'm seeing out there on video and in person is absolutely categorically insane, man. So I will wrap this video up. Definitely drop a like on the video. Certainly subscribe to the channel and share the video. When you share, the universe certainly shares back with you. Peace.